Gang, gang. Yo, yo.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second episode of Run It Back. Got my guy, Chrissa SJE, with me as always, but joining us is this week's special guest from the network himself, the Bros Who Binge host, our live action movie podcast guy. Had to bring him in for this one because he knows about this anime a lot. We got my boy, Adam Shubert. Shuby, how you doing? Just want to introduce the guest first.
Dude, I'm excited to be here. You know, this is probably the one anime that I feel like I can talk with you guys about for sure. And I definitely love this movie. Probably my favorite Halloween movie that's not scary movie.
Yo, it might be my favorite Halloween movie. That's a good pull, because like, yeah, this is definitely a Halloween movie. I didn't even realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Until like you just
Plays a big part of it.
And I watched it twice this weekend. But yeah, no, it definitely plays a big part. Join me as always, Mr. Chrissa SJE. Chrissa, how you doing, brother? Don't you have a project out? Like, tell the people it's good.
Yes, sir, man. I literally just dropped a project like Friday. It's doing pretty good too. I was surprised that just to be a spur of the moment, like random ass project, people actually fucking with it. But go peep Weeb God versus Annie Twitter, bro. It's like basically a deluxe edition to the Weeb God project I dropped last month. Everybody's doing these deluxe editions. I didn't want to do it the corny way and put deluxe, so I dropped it as like a standalone little EP.
And you gave them some new tracks, and none of the old tracks really. So yeah, that's way fire than some of them other people doing. But glad to have you here. As always, this is a show called Run It Back, where we take a deep dive look into anime movies, anime series, and eventually live action movie and live action series. Soon enough, but for right now, it's just anime. So we start this off by always doing background information and giving you a little bit of information about the director. So this week's movie is Cowboy Bebop, the movie, but that's not really the real title of it. That's just what they called it in the West. The real title of it is Cowboy Bebop Knocking on Heaven's Foot. Yeah, I mean, Knocking on Heaven's Door. Excuse me, Knocking on Heaven's Door. Okay, it's a 2001 Japanese animated sci-fi film based on the 1998 series Cowboy Bebop, created by Hijime Yate. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Multiple staff from the original series worked on the film, including, of course, director Shinichiro Watanabe, writer Keiko Nobumoto, character design and animation director Toshiro Kawamoto, and, of course, composer Yoko Kanno. The original Japanese and English voice cast also reprised their roles. The movie, this is something that everybody always gets confused. If you've watched the series, you know that each episode kind of is standalone, except Ballad of the Fallen Angels and the ending with Vicious. This movie takes place between episode 22 and 23 of the series. I believe, I should have looked this up before, and I knew that I should have did this. Hold on real quick, just to give people some clarity of where this is in between. Just to give them some insight. And I knew I forgot to do this before, but I got it pulled up. Hold on. Okay, so episode 22 and 23. 22 is Cowboy Funk and Brain Scratch. Cowboy Funk is when the teddy bear bomber and the clueless cowboy, that's where you meet the Western guy. And then Brain Scratch is when Faye joins the cult of Scratch. So it's before Hard Luck Woman, before Real Folk Blues, and before the ending. So this takes place between episode 22 and 23. And he did that on purpose so the movie wouldn't jar fans and it felt like it belonged in the series. Okay, the plot centers on a mysterious terrorist planning to destroy the human population on Mars using an unknown pathogen. The bounty hunter crew of the spaceship Bebop must work together to find the terrorist and the source of the pathogen before the attack can take place. The film was conceived by Watanabe as an extension of his work on the television series, which he treated as a series of miniature films, like I just said, so as to not alienate the fans from the series. A large amount of the aesthetic material was incorporated while adjusting to make it accessible to newcomers, increased budget, and production facilities. Okay, it takes place on Mars, but Watanabe was traveling to Morocco for research to include the Moroccan themes inside of Mars. The film was produced by Studio Sunrise, which previously developed the original series. Bones, a latter studio founded by former Sunrise staff and Bandai Visual. Cowboy Bebop, the movie, was released in theaters in Japan on September 1st, 2001, and in the United States on August 11th, 2002. It went on to gross $3 million worldwide. On opening weekend on April 4th, 2003, during its opening weekend, it reached 9th on the box office in America, bringing in about $12,000 per screening. The film's total gross in America was $1 million 1 million and some change to get to that 3 million worldwide. Let's give you some background information on Watanabe. Watanabe is known for incorporating multiple genres into his anime creations. In Cowboy Bebop, for example, Watanabe blends classic cowboy westerns with the 1960s and 70s New York City film noir, jazz, and blues music, Hong Kong action movies, among others. Watanabe was born in Kyoto after joining the animation studio Sunrise. He supervised the episode direction and storyboards of numerous Sunrise anime before he debuted his directorial series of Macross and Macross Plus. His next effort after that was the 1998 series Cowboy Bebop. Then it followed the movie. And then after that, Watanabe worked on a kid's story, a detective story, as well as the Animatrix, which I did not know that Watanabe worked on the Animatrix with the Wachowskis, as well as his thing after that was the world we know in Samurai Champloo. So that's a little bit of background on Watanabe, a little bit background on the movie. Let's start off with Shubert. Shubert, what's your thoughts, just opening thoughts on this movie? Just not going too deep. Just give the people just your opening intro thoughts.
Well, it was definitely topical with the whole virus thing that happens.
Bro, it was topical with the virus, the cops, just how government is. This movie, like, we're going to get into it, but this movie was really good.
No, it definitely holds up for being a movie that came out in 2002, really early in the whole anime era. But I mean, it was probably one of the big ones that was on Toonami when we were kids that everyone kind of established as like one of their favorites. And I mean, I think that this movie looks like it could have came out right now as a live action movie, just like the plot line of it, and everyone would be totally into it, would be a blockbuster.
Facts.
So I think it's a movie that everyone needs to visit as just a film.
No, I agree with that 100%. Chrissa, your opening thoughts on this movie?
Well, you know what I'm saying? If you're a Cowboy Bebop fan, you know what to expect. You know what you're going into watching this movie. Definitely a bunch of iconic scenes in this movie. There's like a bunch of shit that, like, you know what I'm saying, you only get from Cowboy Bebop. You know what I'm saying? That aesthetic you only really get from Cowboy Bebop too. It just screams 90s anime, early 2000s. But everything about it is classic. You know what I'm saying? From the soundtrack to the visuals to the characters. It hits every bullet, you know what I'm saying, every target that Cowboy Bebop usually hits.
100%. And you guys know how we start this. We start this off with best scenes. This is how we'll go through the movie. We gave you guys the general plot line. But for me, the first best scene I have to add is the opening robbery scene. Jet says how there's a wannabe preacher with a gun. OMG, I hate this shit. Also, when Spike said to the extra guy, man, you took too long of a shit. Also telling the victim, we don't protect or serve. We're just here strictly on business. Sorry for the bad luck. This felt very Quentin Tarantino-esque. If you've ever seen
That's
like
a good one. Yeah.
Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, this scene in particular felt very Quentin Tarantino-esque, but that makes sense because Watanabe is a big Western guy, which we'll touch on a little bit later, as well as a big samurai guy. They have a lot of the same influences. That was the first scene I had written down. Chris, so we'll just go back and forth, even though I'm going in order. If you have any scene you want to throw out like that's close to that, just throw it out. We'll start with you, Chris.
I'm gonna keep kind of going in order. Whenever Spike was on his like info hunt for shit about the virus, whenever he was looking for like dirt on the virus, I just love seeing him like kind of traverse the city and wind up in these different spots of the city. He was like sparring with this little black kid, you know what I'm saying? Just like having a little quick, you know what I'm saying, boxing, a little practice with him. He's watching kids break dance on the street. Just the music hit hard, the aesthetic hit hard. It just reminds me of something that that they would put on loop in like a lo-fi anime live playlist on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? The aesthetic was just there. It was just some good kind of, I'm not saying filler, but because it was beautiful, you know what I'm saying? And just it was a real beautiful scene to me.
I literally have that on best animation. I go Spike walking through the city looking for info about the bioterrorists and virus. Like when they're showing all the graffiti, showing all the different shirts. We started off very high in terms of animation with Your Name. There's not many best animation scenes in this, but that doesn't mean they didn't do a beautiful job. It's just not as many as Your Name, but that is definitely one I have. Shubert, you got a scene as well if you got one.
I definitely want to agree with you guys on that. It's definitely really cinematic the way they do it. It makes it seem like it's cuts of a B-roll for what they would do in live action movies. So it just like further puts in that point that it's way different than like your normal idea of what like an anime movie would be, because it really does like feel like its own thing. I guess maybe more so where it's like a anime show where like a Dragon Ball Z where like they had movies, but it's different because it feels way more like the Ghost in the Shell kind of deal where it's like just a movie.
Yeah,
But
no, it definitely feels very standalone-y.
But you know, for a fan of the show, what I feel like is a really great opening scene is the scene with Faye, where she's getting her information from Ed. She goes off to chase the tanker, and that's kind of where we get everything going. And also the dynamic of the team when they're hearing the story about was it 300 million berry
yeah,
bounty.
when they're looking at
like,
the TV show. Yeah,
and like they're shitting on Faye when they're like, "Oh, you're sick now.
I have
You're
that.
infected."
I have that written down as character development. A little bit before you guys, the shogi scene where Jet is like, "This represents who you are, Spike. You're just instinct and impulse," and Spike just falls asleep, pays it not as much attention. That just shows the relationship between Spike and Jet. And like you said, Schubert, I have the scene where they find out Vincent's explosion left off some Bioware material, and they thought Faye was going to get them contaminated, and the whole crew runs from her.
A really funny scene early on too is when they show like the TV show, the bounty show about the westerns, and then they show like cut where you see them like on the fake horses, and they're like, "Oh,
and the white girl's just like,
commercial.
"What do I do?" She's like, "I don't want to move," and he's like, "Yeah, let's just cut the commercial." No, that was a very good one as well. Like I said, the Vincent explosion where you find out what the Bioware is, and then the crew runs from him. The next one I have is when Spike first meets the traitor, not traitor, the traitor known as Rashid, and they're talking about beans, and he tells them what he's looking for is not beans, it's a virus. And then that's a scene I have. Chrissa, do you have another scene on the way?
I don't know if I should hit this one already. You know what I'm saying?
All right, well, we're gonna wait. Let me go through. Let me go through my list. So next up, we got Vincent and his partner, Lee Sampson, are driving to the warehouse district, and the kids playing video games. And he's talking about just the classic 90s video games, how they're better. And I think the scene is so good because you see them roll up on the warehouse district guard, and it just shows Vincent's ruthlessness already. We just get the idea of who this guy Vincent is. He doesn't care. He just kills. After that, I have when Jet is watching the Western with the cop informant, and the guy's like, no one's trying to solve cases. It's just dudes in suits trying to get raises and cover their own asses. It's interesting that this is happening during a Western because, to me, this movie shows how it's so similar to the government style that they have. Is so similar to a Western movie in the sense that everybody has free range to do what they want, but it's only due to so much government interfering over the year. So much just cops for not doing their job, so much of the syndicate getting involved in the world that they've digressed back to bounty hunters, but it's not as good as the Wild Wild West because once the bounty hunters do what they want, the government has control, so to say, to paint the narrative how they want, and we see that later down the line. Any scenes in this vicinal in this area, Schubert, if you have any, you can say it. Chris, I'm getting to you because I know you're down the line. So, all right, well, I'm going to keep going. The next one I have is when Faye runs into the lackey, Lee Sampson, at the arcade, and he's pissed that Faye is messing up his sporky dorky game. And that black guy was just a clown.
Yeah, that was iconic, bro.
That dude's a clown, Lee Sampson. So then the next one I have is the fight between Spike and Lieutenant Elektra. That's when we first meet her. That's where we see Spike kicking butt with the broomstick, and we see Lieutenant Elektra being like, we got to get him, and then Spike chases out of the building. I thought he used a cool way to get in there with the cleaning service. Just very bounty hunter Western-esque, and it just worked very well.
That was a big scene for me when I was in my notes, and I started veering away from like, oh, what scene did I like? And then I started thinking about like the Cowboy Bebop series, because there were lots of hits there where I was like, oh, I could see John Chu hitting this line and all that, and I could see like, where his tone kind of works, but I was like, can he do it as cool? And then with like the broomstick, I was like, I was like, man, his stunt person is gonna have to be badass, but at the end of the day, you're also gonna have to see with his face do some of this stuff too. So can he like do something like that with a broom? That's where I was like, oh man, this just makes me think about what's coming up with the future.
Yeah, like, with the live action, like, I don't know if I'm buying John Chu.
I'm glad you said that too, because I wanted to. That was my next one to bring up, like the fight. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And one of the main things about that fight that is like burned into my mental, burned into my memory forever, is just the choreography. Like, if they can't get that exact, like not saying the exact movements, but if they can't get that badassery of that fight in live action, then they could keep it. You know what I'm saying? They might as well adapt a different part, because that choreography was amazing. The music that went along with it drove it home. It was like so up tempo. It like kept you energized the whole time.
And I want to take two veering off points right here before we continue on. One about the music. I think Yoko Kanno kind of, in the sense of this TV show, it's very 60s and 70s blues and jazz. This one, he kind of went out of the box and did a lot more pop music, a lot more hip hop music, but it kind of fit the tone of the show very well. I mean, the tone of the movie, and I liked it. It didn't take me out. It didn't make me feel not Cowboy Bebop. It just made me feel this is a little bit, they put more money in it. It just feels
like
all
like
around.
a normal film that was scored. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not like it doesn't have a one set tone the whole way through. It's just like any other film, just like, oh well, this fits in this scene right here, let's go with this. But it still had some of its like really great music themes that stick to the Cowboy Bebop thing, and I'm gonna wait on that.
No, for sure. Also, I want to ask, do they bring, because we're going to talk about Vincent a lot later, the ending question before we get the reviews of Vincent question, but do you think the live action will bring in Vincent, or should they bring in Vincent?
This is something I had written down. I think that they could do it, but I think it'd have to be like a successful thing first. Cause like, I think we've talked about before, you bring in Vicious, that's like your first big bad. And then this could be like another big bad, because he deserves like a little bit more big bad treatment, I think.
But see, okay, that's a question, because does Vicious take place over just one season? Because they said they're not doing the full 26 in one season. It's gonna go over to 2. So is Vicious kind of like, all right, I'm in the beginning, I leave, and then when he leaves, do they choose the harmonica kid? Do they choose the guy that's bouncing up, doing all the balloons, the bombs, the little crazy Pierrot guy? Or do they bring in Vincent? I actually do want them to bring in Vincent. If they're going to bring in and give any other villain kind of more role, I think Vincent works well. I think Vincent can work well for multiple episodes. This could be, like you said, Shubert, another big bad, but just kind of a mini one between Vicious and ending Vicious, just like one that could get us through the season. And I think Vincent would work. I'm just hesitant on Vincent because there's a lot of backstory. They don't need to add anything. The movie gives you everything you need about Vincent. Just use it the right way, and it could work well as giving you another villain. Chrissa, would you want to see Vincent in the live action show?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you could expound upon it. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, everything is that you need is there.
It's laid out.
And they could go far. They could dive into it. You know what I'm saying? And really, I'm not saying flesh it out, because it's already fleshed out, but they could really give it the attention it deserves in a live action. I want to see Vincent if he gets skipped over and they treat him like he's a small bad. He's like a big tier villain in this series.
He deserves more screen time than the harmonica kid and the random Pierrot guy. All right,
and if you think about it, like him and Spike's interaction and him and Faye's interaction in this movie is important for the furthering the series.
No, 1000%, and that is a very good point. Okay, the next thing I have is after the fight with Spike and Lieutenant Elektra, the scene where Faye meets Vincent for the first time, shoots him in the hand, and then we see Vincent licks his blood while Faye is collapsing because she got infected. We just see Vincent's craziness, bro. When he just grabs the gun and he's just like, just licks all up on his hand. Just like, this is a bad dude. Like, you don't want to mess with Vincent. The next scene I have is, and y'all can jump in at any point when I get to the scene that y'all have as well.
I want to throw that out there too, because that's one of mine. That just showed how purely psychotic he was, and like it's set up like as far as first impressions go, that motherfucker came off as super intimidating. Like it's like, oh, what is up with this dude? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like he don't.
And then he got Faye. Like you're legit scared for Faye watching this. You're like, oh shit, she's in there with fucking psychopath.
No, 1000%.
Well, and walking through the door, it's the black guy who comes up and he falls and like says what spooky dookie again.
Yeah.
And so like that kind of just like
Sporky
immediately
dorky.
sporky dorky, yeah. And he just like walks in and just falls to the floor at first, and he kind of came like a zombie, and I was like, oh gosh, what's going to happen here to Faye?
Yeah, and that when we get to Who Lost the Movie, Sporky Dorky will come back up because Jesus feels so bad for that guy, but he kind of deserved it. All right, the next one I have is the first time Spike and Vincent meet, and he unloads a clip before Spike can even shoot one. Vincent asks Spike, why doesn't he shoot? And this scene, this is the train scene This gets to our first "Are we sure?" But I want to get y'all to talk about this scene if y'all have any things about it. I just thought this was a good scene, kind of like Shubert said, setting up the dynamic of Vincent as a foil for Spike, showing how they're very similar yet very different. Spike actually, even though Spike says all the time, "I'm just a bounty hunter, I don't care about humanity," in this scene we see Spike caring, not shooting to hit random people where Vincent doesn't care, and we see that when he blows that dude's head off, and then Spike kind of just throws him to the side like, "Oh, sorry, bro, can't help you," but like he just dies. First, are we sure? Are we sure Spike wasn't dead when he got shot in the chest and fell out of that fucking train? Are we sure? Like, that's kind of a loophole. Spike kind of should have died. He got fucking
Spike is OP, man.
no. Like, and I know people are gonna be like, well, Spike managed to fly in space in the series with no suit on, which is very, very true. In that where it's the it's the Heavy Metal Queen. It's that episode where he's driving in the truck and he jumps from his plane to the truck with no suit on. That's a moment, but like Spike definitely should have died. Another "are we sure" is that that Indian chief who always talks to Spike, are we sure he would have randomly found him on Mars? And I get the dude lives on Mars, but like on this city, in this planet, like random, kind of convenient.
I thought that whole scene was random. I was like thinking about it. I'm thinking, do we need this? And then of course, like their conversation, and I guess, you know, even hearing now the tagline of the movie, I feel like that scene fits a little bit more with like the direction of like what the tagline means the movie to be. But it was kind of like a.
But I mean, that is a moment where you question is. At that point, it's like, is Spike alive? Is this whole movie actually happening? Or is this just a dream of him in heaven? But we know he is alive because of what takes place. This takes place between episode 22 and 23. Mm-hmm. But like Shubert said, it's just like, how does this fit in? It's kind of random, but they did it for the tagline. So I guess that's okay. But those are two "are we sures" that I had. And I was just like, are we sure? So then after that, we get the second conversation between Spike and who we know as Rashid, but his name is not Rashid. His name is Dr. Mandela, who made the nanobots. Basically, this is the scene where Mandela explains the nanobots, what happened, and they tie it in with while Vincent explains to Faye how he's trying to escape the dream/purgatory and how he lost his memories and how he was a war fighter on Titan. I thought just the juxtaposition between Dr. Mandela explaining and Vincent explaining, it just works really well. And we just see, man, Vincent got a raw end of the deal because he thinks he's dead. He can't remember anything, and he doesn't know if he's alive or not. And it's based upon these nanobots and him seeing these butterflies, which are just a reaction of the nanobots hitting his brain. So I thought that was a very important scene for them to kind of get us to explain everything.
One of the best parts about this movie too is the talking scenes seem like if they were played by the actual voice actors and like played out as they were, it'd be like Oscar-winning kind of scenes. Like they're
very
seriously
Oscar-winning
acted
dialogue.
well.
Yeah,
like the dialogue is like super real, and we get into another dialogue scene later on too that's just like, whoa, like it's captivating when it's action, and it's captivating when they're just like having a conversation.
And I think the conversation between Mandela and Spike shows just how much Spike cares about humanity. Even though he's constantly like, I don't care, whatever happens, happens. When if that was the case, he wouldn't have punched Mandela in his stomach. And then low key, we're going to get to Mandela and Who Lost the Movie, because did he die? Like when he slid down the thing and we hear those gunshots go off and those fucking, the fucking army people who work for that corporation just come up. Damn, Mandela, you should have stayed in hiding, bro. But we'll get to that a little bit later. The next scene I have is when Vincent explains to Faye how he's trying to. Oh, no, we said that already. Okay. The next one I have is Spike and Elektra talking about the fear of death in the lockup scene after.
That's the next dialogue scene. I'm saying that was super well acted.
Super important. Yeah, no, 100%. Like we see in this, this happens obviously after Ballad of the Fallen Angels, and it just works really well because we get a glimpse into Spike and how much Julia made him feel alive, and after her, it changed his life, and now he doesn't have to fear death because he knows what it means to be alive, and he gives that information to Elektra, and I think that's a very, very important scene. Also, the way they break out, I literally wrote down jailbreak. That was just a good moment. Spike's trying to get a cigarette, and he just grabs a gun, and Elektra does the right thing as well.
Loved it.
Great moment. The next one I have is when, this is a small scene, but this goes back to the themes we're talking about. when the cops think they figured out what's going on and they're talking, they're like, do we go through all this red tape? And they're like, nah, bro, we're just doing this and it'll be over. And it just shows like how this government system works and how government works, how to get stuff done, it's all about bureaucracy. It's all about politics. It's not ever about actually solving the crime. It's never about solving the case. It goes back to Jet and his cop informant's conversation of it's just people in suits trying to move up the ladder and save their own asses. And we see that as well with the corporation because the corporation has the vaccine to the disease, and they're like, we're not gonna give it out. We're just gonna hold on to it and kind of just make sure people don't know we didn't have anything to do with this. And then when it comes down to it, we'll save lives at the end and charge a shit ton of money. So it just shows that like the cops, the government, and these corporations all are just the same, all kind of the same entity doing similar things, thinking they're doing the right cause, but they're not really trying to actually help. It's just about moving up, making money, and covering your own ass. That's literally what it's all about. The next one I have is when Jet is having the planes fly over the city and some of them start breaking. I thought that was just a good humor moment, and we get to see, I think Watanabe was smart for doing this because we get to see all the different versions of aviation the Earth has went through, because it goes from the crop dusters to the war planes, a little bit later to newer planes, and then we get to see the ones with the jet engines and everything that are kind of like the modern day planes. And then as well, of course, I have the whole ending montage from after the first jack-o'-lantern explodes and all the planes go out, when we see Vincent walking down the street, and then we see the Halloween parade leading up to the ending. And Chris, I know you have something to go on about this.
Well, like my favorite part was like the whole chase scene, you know what I'm saying? With the whole Spike flying through the fucking city. That shit was crazy.
I have that in best fights when we get
talk about good music. Talk about good music.
Oh yeah, like the adrenaline was booming that whole time.
No, 100%. Let's talk about the ending moments before we get to best fights and best animation, because we'll be able to talk more about it. But just Vincent and Spike battling it out. Spike gets knocked down. Spike doesn't really win any fights in this movie. That's something else that happens. Like, if you really pay attention, he's trying to go for the gun. Spike starts seeing the butterflies. Vincent knocks it to the side. Then all of a sudden, Elektra comes up. She points the gun at Vincent. Vincent points the gun. Vincent then remembers who Elektra is, but Elektra shoots him. Vincent dies. Now, I want to ask y'all, do y'all think that it's just because Vincent remembered, like he said, or part of me thinks that it's because he wanted to die, because he wanted this dream to quote unquote end and him they were on the gate or court to heaven's door, and that's what he wanted. I think him remembering is just kind of the cherry on top of him. Now that he's dead, he remembers who he actually is, and it's like, all right, I can die kind of in, I guess, peace, but he killed a lot of people, so I don't know if it is in peace, but like, you know, as much peace as Vincent can get. But that's pretty much all the scenes I have written down. If y'all want to jump in on any of the ending, y'all are more than welcome to before we get to best fights in animation.
Now that ending was definitely emotional, you know what I'm saying? Especially when he got the memory back of Elektra, you know what I'm saying? Like they did that in such true Cowboy Bebop fashion, you know what I'm saying? To where it's gonna be like, we're gonna make you sad, we're gonna give you a small W and a big something, just some shit to think about, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, like, was he really trying to get death? Was it really all worth it? And Spike asked him, he was like, bro, all you had to do is just open your eyes and you would have realized this a long time ago. You're just afraid of the answers and afraid of truth. And I think that's another theme of this, of a lot of people in this story were afraid of the truth. Elektra, Vincent, the corporation, the cops, even Spike to a certain extent. The only ones that weren't were Jet, Ed, and Ein. They were kind of Jet, Ed, and Ein kind of represent the audience of us looking at what's going on. Even Faye was kind of scared of the truth of what she was going on through as well. All right, let's get to best animation. I have some, like I said, I have a little bit of moments when the Bebop's flying through space right after the opening song, when we see all the different warp gates. I thought that was a good one. That's in the opening. Spike walking through the city looking for info about the bioterrorists, like Chrissa said. The scene where the Bebop's on the wharf right after Vincent pays that guy of getting after getting his virus marble. Like it's kind of like a cityscape, and it's at night, and we see the Bebop in the wharf. The next one I have Jet and Spike's convo on the water after Spike dies, after Spike almost dies. Very, very beautiful animated moment. Spike flying over Mars in the start of the dog fight, and then all of the dog fight is just beautifully animated. The start of the Halloween parade, and then when the butterflies appear on the tower when Vincent has the gun pointed at Spike and Spike's on the ground when they all start floating up right before Elektra comes in. If y'all have any beautiful animated moments that I didn't cover, throw them out, or if y'all just want to touch on any, go right ahead. You can, Chrissa or Shubert, doesn't matter.
In the ending scene where they're fighting, the choreography is great for the fighting, but also every little detail of the H, I think it is, that's flickering out.
Yeah, when it goes out.
You know, just the little details, like the scene where Faye gets confronted by Vincent for the first time, the marbles falling on the floor, just all the little things that were made it so more detailed was what I would say made it for the best animated scenes.
No, I agree with that 100. Chrissa, if you have any, go right ahead, brother.
Definitely, I love the end fight scene, of course, you know what I'm saying, but you know, of course, the amazing choreography and everything as well, but just as far as like drop music for that scene, music was gone. All you really heard was like fireworks and shit in the background, and then you heard like straight scuffling. And to me, that just made it super intense. You don't get no dramatic music. It's just dramatic intensity of the actual moment. It's like you get into the moment, you get lost in it, because there's no like, I'm not saying cinematography about it. It's like they did that on purpose, you know what I'm saying, to make it super dramatic. And I feel like it was executed better than if it would have been super shebang music, like making it thrilling, you know what I'm saying?
The Bebop theme in the background. No, I agree 1,000%. All right, let's get to best fights, and then we'll go through everybody and see which one they thought was the best fight. So I have the fight between Spike and the Lieutenant for the first one, of Vincent in Spike's first fight in the train, and Spike gets his ass whooped. The dog fight between the army planes and Spike and the swordfish, and then Vincent and Spike's final fight on the gate to heaven / the Eiffel Tower type thing. Shubert, I'll start with you. Which one do you think was the best fight of the movie?
Oh man, I gotta go with the ship battle. I mean, it's wild.
I'm kind of leaning that way because Spike doesn't win a fight. Spike gets his ass whooped. He gets his ass whooped the whole hand to hand. That dog fight was so beautiful when they're going through everything, and then Spike really doesn't shoot at any of them. He just shoots at debris and goes through it, and they end up killing themselves. He doesn't shoot at one person. He just shoots at things. I really like that fight. I'm not mad at that. Chrissa, what's your favorite? What's the best fight to you in this movie?
You already know, man. I'm going with the janitor get up fight against Elektra. You know what I'm saying?
That was
just
a good fight.
I just love the choreography of the fight so much. It just reminds me of that iconic choreography you get from like the best fight scenes in anime. And plus, like, I just love the way like Spike was talking shit the whole time. He's like, "Hey, we should go on a date after this." I'm like, you gotta love Spike. He's just the epitome of cool. Even when he's getting his ass whooped, you know what I'm saying? Or even whenever he's like, and definitely the little Bruce Lee dancing fight. The dude just iconic. You know what I'm saying? Like everything Spike does is badass, and that just highlighted it because that was before shit got super serious in the movie. So it was still kind of lighthearted. He was like kind of tussling, but at the same time, he was just giving you that classic Spike feel.
No, I agree. Look, y'all made this hard for me because damn, I don't want to say the ending fight just because the ending fight was good, but it wasn't better than the two fights you guys said. I'm gonna go with the dog fight, the plane fight, because I thought that was actually very well executed, well oriented. But the fight that Chrissa said is probably my second favorite one. Like if we're talking hand to hand, I think that's the best hand to hand one. But the best overall to me is the dog fight. Word, glad we got that one. All right, let's jump to who won the movie. Who do you think was the best person in this movie, or who won the movie? I have 3 nominees. I have Yoko Kanno with the soundtrack. That's fucking amazing. Like, she definitely won the movie. I got Vincent. I think Vincent did an amazing job. And I have Ed and Ein, because Ed and Ein solved all of that shit in the beginning and no one was listening to them. They're just being fucking idiots. So those are my 3 nominations. I think I'm gonna go with Yoko Kanno, but if we're going with the actual character in the movie, I'm going with Vincent, because I just think this was Vincent's movie, and I think everything about him just screamed goodness. It just screamed like amazing voice acting performance, amazing dialogue that he was given, an amazing idea of him being, just because he lost his memories, does memories determine if someone's alive? Does memories determine if someone's actually in the real world? And if you don't have those memories, does that mean you're in a dream world? Are you actually sure this is the real world you live in? Are you sure this is from I'm going with Vincent and slash Yoko Kanno because that soundtrack was fucking amazing. I'll start with you this time, Chrissa. Who won the movie?
Now, see, I wanna go with Faye because she slipped out of that sneaky situation. Shit could have got really, really ugly
She
for her.
only
You know what
got
I'm saying?
she got lucky that
She
dude
got
knocked on that
super
door
lucky.
because
Oh,
Faye's
that
about to
was
get
bruh.
raped.
She was about to, or worse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know how some weird creep, and you already see how psycho this dude is. He
Yeah,
could have
Vincent's
did
a
some damage
clown.
before he even gets there. He could have just been on some weird, sick murderer type shit. You know what I'm saying? So for her to just escape that situation unscathed, you know what I'm saying? Because bro, it was looking ugly for her. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't watch the end of Cowboy Bebop and you didn't know where this movie fell at, you thinking maybe it might be the end for Faye. She's gonna at least suffer some traumatic experience. Her and like you said, Ein and Ed, you know what I'm saying? Because to me, they're geniuses. Well, Ed's for sure like 100,000% a genius. And
Ein's the data dog.
You know
Like
what I'm saying?
he's
and like
he's
super
a
slept on.
yeah. No,
He
I
made
love
all
that
the right
show.
moves in the game.
Yes, Ein did make all the right moves as
Facts.
well in the shogi. Shubert, who do you think won the movie?
Who do I think won the movie? I mean, I guess I'll just go with the obvious one of Spike because this was his movie, and though he lost a lot of battles, he definitely turned a corner in his mentality from beginning to end and his humanity. And also,
And if you look
I
at
think,
it through the lens of this being between 22 and 23, it makes his ending choices a lot. It makes those choices he makes at the end of the movie make more sense.
yeah, so I mean, it's a big catalyst for him in this movie. And like Chrissa mentioned with the fight, this movie was the epitome of coolness of Spike in a lot of different varying ways.
No, I agree. I'm not mad at you saying Spike won the movie. So I got Vincent and Yoko Kanno. Chris has Faye and Ed and Ein, and Shubert has Spike. All right, let's get to who lost the movie. I got a lot of people who lost in this fucking movie. Steve. You may not know who Steve is, but Steve is the doctor who got conned by Elektra thinking she would go out with him for running the data off the record. Steve, you fucking lost, bro.
Simp God, bro. That's some simp shit if I ever did see it.
Super simp. The next one I got, Dr. Mandela. Pretty sure he died after all that hiding. Lol. The next one, Elektra, thinking the company cared about her instead of saving her own ass. She kind of lost this fucking movie, and she lost the man she loved. And the final ones I got is the white dude and black dude who trusted Vincent. You fucking idiots.
Don't trust him.
But I guess I gotta go with Dr. Mandela because he lost his life. So I think he lost this movie and he made all the shit and then let the company take the thing without securing the vaccine and destroying it himself, you fucking moron. So I'm going with Dr. Mandela. But Steve is a close second, that simp god.
Steve's a clown.
Shubert, who do you think lost the movie?
I think Jet kind of lost in this movie because he kind of didn't have enough to do, and
Poor
some
Jet
of the stuff
never has anything to do.
A lot of his main scene was just him pouting about like, "Oh, I wish they would call." I'm like, dude, like, come on, Jet, what are you doing? And then I would also agree with your point on Elektra. Like, not only that, but Elektra like had a big arc in this movie, and then you're never gonna see her again.
Yeah, she's done for. She definitely kind of lost. All right, Chrissa, who do you got losing?
Now, see, I'm going to go against the grain, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to say, because I got kind of two, but one of them is just kind of for a bullshit reason. But the guys at the beginning of the movie and the whole robbery, kind of the criminals, that's what I call like the definition of losers. So they're like losers. They're from the jump being losers. Bounty so low, it's laughable. You know what I'm saying? Crime, like they were like the worst criminals. They were like these stupid, you know what I'm saying? Like these no-name Dragon Ball Z criminals that do some shit and they're not even worried about them because they deal with people who blow up the earth. They're like, why are y'all even here? You know what I'm saying? Y'all are just the goons that are just here to take up space. And it definitely showed with the reward from there. Like, bro, y'all motherfuckers couldn't even buy meat and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they were just getting ramen.
So for sure, they were the losers. And then I got to give it to Simp God, bro. Every time you get this Simp God-esque character,
Steve.
Bro, like that's always my least favorite character because it's like, why, bro? You going out sad and for what? And for what? Because you're horny, son? Yeah. You should never be detrimentally horny to the point where you go out sad to that extent. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, Steve sucked. And then when she comes back, he's like, damn, I guess I'm not getting this date, huh? And she was like,
that's embarrassing, bro. Like, that's the most embarrassing shit ever. Like, you went out, like, nobody better ever find out about that because you're just going to take an L. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, I like all of my choices. All those people fucking lost the movie for sure. Okay, so next up we got, I did the Are We Sure's. I want to ask y'all the question before we get to the ranking and then y'all's final thoughts. Was Vincent a better villain than Vicious?
I'm gonna say no.
Say
I
no?
say
just
no
think-
too.
Yeah, but I think he's a really solid one though. But I think Vicious just is the ascent. You know, he's the villain. You know, he's
Like-
the one.
Just given the history with him and Spike, like, you know what I'm saying? Just given everything, all the story behind it, he has to be the number one villain in Cowboy Bebop. And just because of how iconic that ending scene was, but I'm not gonna lie, he comes close. Vincent is close. He's the closest thing to Vicious we have.
Okay, I just want to ask that because Vicious took some L's to Spike. Vincent didn't take any L's to Spike. That's just the only reason why I want to ask.
I would say
And
Vincent in like equivalent to like other films and stuff like Clubber Lane,
the side
you
rock,
know,
yeah.
Bane,
Yeah, okay, like
you
a
know,
side, not the Joker, but like someone that's close second.
someone that gives him a battle that he has to like, you know, come back and
I like
you know,
I like
redeem
the
himself.
Bane. I like the Bane reference because
He's
Vincent
definitely
is
like impactful. You know what I'm saying?
no
Yeah.
Vincent is the second best villain in Cowboy Bebop. He has to be. There's no one else because like as much as I love the Harmonica Kid and Perot, those two don't push Spike as far as Vincent does, even though he almost died from both of them. But all right, and then let's get to y'all's ranking of the movie. Chrissa, remember last time we gave Your Name a 9.6. Does the Cowboy Bebop movie eclipse Your Name, or is Your Name still the run it back king? Oh, his video froze. Let's
I still want to keep Your Name the running back king. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
Your Name is
I
still the
wanna
run it
keep
back
that.
king.
But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Cowboy Bebop has to be at least like a 9 minimum. You know what I'm saying? Because it was so great.
Yeah,
I'll give it a 9 based off of just, first of all, this is one of those movies that defines an era. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like 90s, and it was, you know, early 2000s, but this embodies everything that came. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the aesthetic, the soundtrack, the choreography, the plot, the characters, you know what I'm saying? The emotion. It can't be any less than a 9 for me. So I'm gonna give it at least 9.1. You know what I'm saying?
I'm right there with you. Schubert, what do you rank it? Do you rank it? Yeah, what do you rank it? Because you're this is fresh. This is your first film. So what do you give it out of 10?
I mean, I agree with the 9 minimum. For me, I'd say a 9.4.
Okay, I'm not mad at that.
It's like I said right from the beginning and throughout the whole thing, it's a movie that seems like it could be put on the pedestal with other movies. Like if I were going to put an all-time top 50, top 100 movies
it
list,
makes it.
like it might make it. Like I mean, it's just a well put together movie from start to finish, no matter what genre it is, anime or not anime. It's a great movie.
No, I'm right there with you. It does not eclipse Your Name for me. So Your Name is still the running back king. But like Chris said, it can't get under a 9. I'm going to go right at like 9.2, 9.1. This movie was great. Spike Spiegel was amazing. The Western noir aspects of it, the questions of, are you really alive? Is this really your world? Then to look at how viruses affect the world and how governments respond to it, how governments respond and how cops respond to situations, and how it's not necessarily about solving crimes. It's more about just moving up the corporate ladder and saving your own ass. And that's just everything surrounded about money. And I think Watanabe did a great job of just putting these themes in that are timeless, so to say, because like Schubert said in the beginning of this, it works just as well as it did in 2001, just as well now. And I think it's interesting that this came out in 2001 around the time of 9/11 with the whole terrorist plot thing. Everything just works very well for this movie in that time period, but as well as in 2020. So let's get to y'all's closing thoughts on the movie before we get up out of here. We'll start off with Chrissa. Chrissa, just give us your closing thoughts and just what you thought about this movie.
Super impactful, just like you said, super relevant to this time. Years later, like 20 years later, it's super impactful as far as plot and relevancy, as far as, you know, the content, the subject matter. It's just crazy that we're dealing with multiple things that they touched upon. You know what I'm saying? Multiple things, like different things. And plus, you know what I'm saying, I always gotta tip my hat to Yoko Kanno, man, and the seatbelt. Shout out to the seatbelts. Shout out to Yoko Kanno, one of my favorite musicians of all time. Like Cowboy Bebop's score for the movie and the show, so iconic. I have every single soundtrack, every single album they've dropped as an album. As a group, as the Seatbelts, and Yoko Kanno as a solo artist. Like I have that literally on my laptop. Have hard copies of it at my mom's crib. You know what I'm saying? So I always gotta drive home how impactful the music is. Me being a big music guy, And then, bruh, just the whole aesthetic. I can't get over that. Like when you think of old school, not even old school, but when you think of like
that
that
classic era.
anime,
Yeah, no, man. This is I would say this. I want to say. I don't want to say this is like the magnum opus of that era, but it kind of is. Like this is kind of the apex of that era, where everything we see that we love, from the music to the animation to just the tone and theme, we don't get animes like this anymore. And you know that's my biggest complaint on Anime Talk. It's like, why can't we get these space western noirs that are mature content that kids can enjoy for the fighting, but the dialogue, the things that Shubert said, the dialogue, the choreography, the things that make this a great movie, not let alone a great anime. We need more content like this in the anime world in 2020, because we're missing a huge demographic if we keep just doing magic, demons. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Like I'm so sick of it. And this was so refreshing, and I'm glad we chose this as a rewatch. Shubert, give us your final thoughts and just what you thought about this movie.
You know, as a person who hosts a show about, you know, what's going on in TV and movies at the moment, I can't help but look forward as, you know, revisiting this and thinking about what's to come with this series. You know, it made me, you know, think about the character development that's going to need to be like the people who play all of our essential characters. You know, Ed is going to have to be someone who, if it's not an actor that's, you know, unbelievable, because obviously it's got to be a younger actor. The direction has got to be incredible for that. Like that's, you know, you have to work hard to make that character work.
Ed is a make or break character for the show. Like Spike is obviously number one, but I would say Ed might be number two. Like,
for sure.
Because I don't know how you nail Ed in live action. I really don't.
Ed has always been one of my favorite Cowboy Bebop characters.
Like that's above my pay grade to know how they make Ed work. Like, because I don't know how they're gonna do that. That's just gonna be hard.
Yeah, so I mean, throughout the movie, I'm thinking about that. Like I mentioned earlier, the coolness factor, whether John Chu would be able to pull that off. Just thinking that if they could pull off a scene any similar to a lot of the stuff that they're putting together now, whether aesthetics, the ship battle, that's definitely got to be something that they incorporate, and they, you know, are able to do all of the things that they were able to do in the anime and put it into live action. And like I mentioned, you know, the Hollywood wants to talk about stunt guys right now and give them an opportunity to win Oscars. Hey, you got to get a hell of a stunt guy for this thing, because, you know, they're going to have to put the work in to make John Chu and Spike Spiegel look great and badass.
That's another. I didn't even think about the dog fighting in Cowboy Bebop in the live action. They're going to have to put money into that, because that's like Star Wars level dog fights. Like, like that's serious. But no, I agree with everything y'all said. Just my final thoughts, like Chrissa said, just the era of this, it just feels so fresh today, but it encompasses an era of anime, from the Yu Yu Hakusho's to the Dragon Ball Z's to the Trigons to the Black Lagoons, and it's just all of this together, and we see it come together in Knocking on Heaven's Door. So shout out to Watanabe, shout out to everybody who worked on this. This movie was incredible. Didn't take down the Run It Back King, but this movie is 100% Run It Backable. We'll go in order. Shubert, do you think this movie is Run It Backable?
Yeah, I think it's Run It Backable. I think you should put it on your October
Halloween
watch list.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going on there. I'm definitely gonna watch this during Halloween. Chrissa, is this movie Run It Backable for you?
For sure, 100,000%.
100. Well, we accomplished our goal of finding a movie that is Run It Backable. We'll stamp this one in the upper echelons of the Run It Back tiers. Want to thank Chrissa and Shubert for coming on. Want to thank Shubert for being a guest on this show. We'll start off with you. Tell the people they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ashubert14, and be sure to check out what's going on with Bros Who Binge. There's a big Netflix movie coming out this week that Lyndon and I are going to check out, The Old Guard, with Charlize Theron. So then we're going to be reviewing that. And
we're starting
episode.
Avatar Book 2. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Book 2 of our Avatar
rewatch.
Doom
Patrol has just started too.
As well, we're going to be reviewing all of that. By the time you guys hear this, y'all are hearing this on Friday. That episode will be out on Monday, so be sure to check that out. Chrissa, tell the people they can find you on social media.
Find your boy at Chrissa SJE everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I'm most concerned with you spacing it out. Chrissa space SJE on Spotify. I got some new gas on the way. Like literally just dropped some gas Friday or last Friday. Just dropped a feature with one of my homeboys. Got another feature dropping with one of my other homeboys this week. So it's heavy on that. So peep me out for sure.
Hell yeah, y'all. Be sure to check that out and support Chrissa, and be sure to check out Weeb God versus Annie Twitter on all streaming platforms. Y'all make sure y'all get that. And like Shubert said, be sure to check out Bros Who Binge. For more of content from the Bros Who Think Network, by the time you guys hear this, the latest episode of Anime Talk will be out. Me and Chrissa have started 2 new shows, baby. Chrissa, the new season has begun. We got Fire Force Season 2 and Gotta High School Season 1. Those reviews are going on there. As well as some fan questions. So be sure to check out the most recent episode of Anime Talk. Be sure to check out the most recent episode of the Bros Who Think podcast. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. We are coming correct with the extra YouTube content. We're flooding it. We're giving y'all everything that we can create at the moment. So be sure to look out for that. And then the next week, I know this is supposed to come out in the off week, but we want to put it out a little bit early. Y'all will probably get my thoughts on Undead Unluck, just a quick summation of the series so far, and then we'll start manga reviews for that, as well as some other stuff, because Chris is catching up, baby. We might get the My Hero manga review soon, maybe the One Piece, who knows?
You might get the One Piece first, because I'm like, bro, every single body on my timeline is getting the One Piece. Otaku God's in the One Piece. My boy M_Doodoo.
Yeah, Makai Moss, bro. Everybody is catching up.
I'm getting the One Piece.
Yeah, Schubert's watching One Piece. He's about to get to Drum Island.
Bro, when my girl passed me up, that's when I knew it was time to get back on One Piece. Whenever I saw my bro Jalen, bro, from Homer. You know
when
Jalen.
I saw Jalen say he was watching One Piece, I was like, this is how you know.
It was time. It was about that time. And then plus we're in Wano. How is it not for me to catch up on One Piece when we're in the middle of one of the best arcs to come?
Yeah,
so I got to do it. I got to catch up.
It's huge right now, but like I said, y'all be sure to follow both of these fine gentlemen. Be sure to check out their work. Be sure to check out Anime Talk. You can follow me at LynBWT. Follow Bros Who Think, Bros Who Think. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to our content. And we will see you on the next time of Run It Back. I can announce our guest because I already lined it up. We will have Peter from the What Do You Say Anime podcast. You have seen Peter on an episode of Anime Talk before. I'm not going to tell y'all the movie, but I can tell you the studio that did the movie. We're doing our first Studio Ghibli film. Yes, the first Studio Ghibli. It's huge. We're going to Miyazaki. Which one are we going to choose? You'll find out soon enough. But until then, you guys have a good one, and peace.
Fuck Rachel, I ain't no simp ass nigga like Bam. Got that no paper, touch my cash, little bitch get blam. Skyscraper, heaven's arena, that's my stack. Rap niggas mad, took they spot, that's my bag.
These niggas lame, they can't last, just a fad. I need more than a lot, I need bags. My bitch bad, Rio Cold, she got ass. A no skate, you get jabbed, you get stabbed.
Hands back when I'm running to the cash. Tryna run off and get popped in your ass. Not Uriah, I am not going outside. Young Thorfinn, bitch, I stunt like my dad.
Stuntin' like my daddy, all we smoke is fatties. Cuz straight from Cali, they looking cause they smell me. My bitty from the valley, she hit me, told me, tap me. I hit the blunt, I'm laughing, shit, I'm puff the magic dragon.
My young nigga savage, all my youngins thuggin' from the underlocker caption. Make them under stretch like the movie Water Captain. Straw hat raps, you be movie water capping. I ain't about talk, little baby, I'm out action. All I know is get up on my ass and get active.